All right. So, hey, I'm Lauren with Aspire Rugby. I get to hang out with Jade McGrath today. I asked her to hop on for a Rugby Hang because I have followed Jade for the last couple years. And one of the things I was most impressed with is how diligently it seemed that she was able to train through COVID. And I asked her to come on and kind of speak about that. And most recently, she's had a ton of amazing opportunities. One most recently as one of the members of the Professional Sevens team, the experts. So, Jade, before we kick things off, will you introduce yourself and give us a little bit of background on you and rugby?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Jade. So I started playing rugby in college, as most of us did. Played sports before, wanted to hit people. Rugby seemed like a cool spot to do that. So I started playing at Boston College my freshman year. Played 15s really exclusively. We had the odd sevens prom dress tournament or something, but mostly 15s. And then the summer between my junior and my senior year is when I started playing sevens. I went to play with Scion in Vegas, and then went there down to DC for the summer and played my second sevens season. Oops, I forgot. I played for Boston Sevens the summer before. That was my first time. Yes, Boston women's, played sevens for them, and then I went down to DC the next summer to play with Scion. And I've played with them every single summer since, which is kind of crazy to think. So I've played for Boston College, Boston Women's, Scion. I played a couple games with the Furies before I started playing touch and was selected for a Falcons tour. So that fall was a little bit busy for me. So I only got to play 2 games with them. But yeah, I also started recently playing touch, which has been really great for my sevens. Now I am primarily a sevens and touch player and hope to get back into 15s, but the pandemic has made that a little bit difficult.
Yeah, and I'm like really stoked to dive into some of those pieces. Because like I said, I see you included in a lot of high profile tournaments and teams, and Scion, of course, is extremely competitive, some legends that you've played with, and you're making a name for yourself as well. I wanted to ask, and this is coming from a perspective of I was helping support a lot of athletes train through COVID the past year plus, and I again was really impressed by what seemed like the motivation that you had to train, and you were in DC at that time, right? And it was snowing and for part of the time. So how did you stay motivated to train when the world was shutting down and there are layers of issues and problems and challenges, but as far as rugby and training, how did you stay motivated?
Yeah, I mean, as far as the snow thing, part of the reason why I moved from Boston was because there was much less snow down in DC. The weather's much nicer, so that definitely helped. I had a couple different things kind of going for me. The first was I was coming off of a period of not being able to play rugby. I had broken my collarbone in August of 2019, right? Yeah, 2019. And I had surgery and everything, got the scars. I've done both of them, but most recently I did the left one. And my first training back, I was finally cleared for contact. I was at practice with Nova in Virginia and got my first contact in. I tackled somebody for the first time in months. I was super excited. And that was in March of 2020. And it was the week that everything shut down. So I had kind of gotten my little fix, and then everything shut down. And so I was kind of particularly motivated to come back bigger and stronger and better, because I'd been so excited to play again. And then all of the uncertainty of things, all I could really do was train and try to be stronger for when I did come back. So I kind of had that fire underneath me that kept me going. I was also lucky enough to have about halfway at the end of 2020 to start working with a athlete performance group. So I had the support of a group based in the UK called Athlete Focus that I learned about through an old high school classmate. She happens to be a professional triathlete. So they work with a bunch of different types of people. And they have been incredible. They like having the accountability of that team has been everything. Some programming help and just like emotional support as always. But that was a big motivator for me. And then, I mean, just the support of my people that were around me. Lauren and I are both really good about pushing each other and motivating each other. We got kettlebells as soon as the kettlebell shortage ended. We got creative with our space. We lived near a park that had lots of hills and green space. So we motivated each other, and yeah, I was really stoked to get back to rugby, and we didn't know when that would be. So I just wanted to be ready for anything.
Yeah. I mean, I saw pictures of you, I think with your brother or relatives, like running up your family steps or something.
Yes, I got everybody involved.
I was like, she gets it. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I think it goes a long way to sort of keep us all going when we do feel isolated. Like I know for me, like I live in an apartment space, and if the weather's bad, it's particularly hard to think, okay, what am I going to do to train? So I appreciate you sharing that.
The apartment makes things hard. We lived in a 1-bedroom. Our living room was our dining room, was our workout room, was our office, was.
Yeah. And like gyms weren't, I mean, I was avoiding a gym because I was trying to be safe and everything. So, well, I think that all your efforts paid off. I mean, I'll let you decide, but, I wanted to ask you about like, okay, so things start to open back up and you're playing sevens this past summer, and, I mean, Scion did really well. Do you want to sort of share just like what your summer of like being back in rugby was like?
Yeah, it was incredible. Just like one word, just amazing, incredible. There was a lot of uncertainty going into the season. I think in May, still, we weren't really sure if we were going to be able to do anything or if it was really the right thing to do. Trying to figure out just local rules about playing team sports, vaccination statuses of people, making sure that we were at a place where everybody could reasonably have access to a vaccine before we started getting together. So there was a lot of uncertainty in the beginning, and I'm really grateful that we have a solid group of people that had actually moved down to DC from summers prior. So we kind of went from a team of where most of the team or part of the team was new to Scion, where we kind of had a solid group of people who've played with us for a couple of years and had actually moved to the DC area, and that was their home. So it was easier for us to kind of get together more informally when people started being able to get their vaccines up, to actually putting a team together. So I remember our first tournament was really incredible to be back with, friends and like people who've grown to be family and actually playing rugby with other people. And to just go through the summer knowing that things were opening back up and, we got to play rugby again and train again. And it was a good summer for the team. Like I said, we had a really solid group. We went through the entire season leading up to nationals, only having had 2 tries scored against us the whole season. We hadn't lost a game. And, we went to Nats and we did what we knew we could do. Yeah, it felt awesome. And we had a really good group. It felt good to win, of course, but even if we hadn't, I still would have had a great time.
Was nationals the tournament that you were named women's tournament most valuable player?
Yes. Yeah.
I saw that and I was like, oh boy, training has paid off. Well, huge congrats. That's incredible.
Thank you.
So, okay, Scion, like to your point, Scion has always had sevens players who are sort of like well-known and play on the US national team and such. How do you work your way into being someone on the team that is like, How do you feel, or what would you tell people who want to work their way onto a team and be like a foundational player who like really shows up even when the pressure's on?
Yeah, I mean, first thing is keep playing rugby. The more rugby you play, the more people you'll meet, the more opportunities you'll get to improve and get better and be seen and all of those things. But also, don't be afraid to reach out to people and make connections with people. I know for me, I started playing for Scion at a Vegas tournament on their like social side and kind of worked my way into the group. And we've had lots of players who have done that. We've had girls who have come out who live in the DC area who have reached out saying, hey, I want to play rugby. I want to play competitive rugby. Or I want to get better, or I want, like, just for a multitude of different reasons, and have reached out and, trained with us and played with us and starting with us. And just, it's the time and the effort and the commitment to the sport and eventually to the team and to the people around you. I think it's pretty hard to go wrong. There are sacrifices that have to be made, obviously, and decisions, like life decisions that have to be made. It happened to be that I graduated from college and had an opportunity to move somewhere, and I moved down to DC because why not? I found a job and I was able to play rugby, so that worked out really well for me. But yeah, you just gotta reach out. Don't be afraid to reach out and keep playing.
I can tell you're a very humble person. I appreciate that about you, but you had a phenomenal summer from what I can tell. And then the thing I wanted to ask you about next is the Women's Professional Sevens League. So you were one of the few women who were asked to, or create opportunity to play in this league. That's the first we've ever seen here in the US. Will you tell us a little bit about how you got involved with that?
Yeah. First off, what an incredible opportunity and just kind of momentous event for rugby in general, but specifically women's rugby. And to be a part of that was just, I remember being there every day. Like, I can't believe that I am here and that we are here. This is just so amazing. They reached out to me after Club
Wait,
Seven.
who's they? Who is it, like the coaching staff, or was it like
So the PR7's selections committee?
yeah.
Mike Tolkien had been reaching out to people directly and then offering contracts if people were available to come and play. And so we didn't actually know what team we would be on until a week, 2 weeks before we went, including like who our coaches were going to be or anything. So there was a lot of planning that definitely went into it. And you could tell that the crew worked their butt off to make it happen. But yeah, it was there. I didn't honestly do a lot in preparation for it. They did a really good job of making sure that we had our stuff taken care of and that we were eventually given the information that we needed to be successful.
What, I guess my next question is like, when can we see the league play again? What does that look like?
Yeah, so I think they're still kind of crunching the numbers from the event, doing all of the takedown from
How it went.
exactly, taking notes, getting feedback. They're still collecting feedback from players and staff and things like that. So I'm sure as soon as they've aggregated the data, looked at the numbers, and figured out if it's actually a viable event, or if not yet, how to eventually make it a viable event, that they'll start planning for the next one. I know that the goal is to have a series of stops. So kind of like the HSBC series, to have a number of stops, but just throughout the country, and actually throughout North America, because there were a lot of Canadians there, and there's some Canadian cities that they were thinking of going to. So hopefully next year they'll have announced that we're going to go to this city, and then potentially this city, and then potentially this city. But all of that's a little bit up in the air right now. They're still releasing game footage. I don't know. I've only seen one game replayed since actually coming back from Memphis. So hopefully by the end of the year they'll have an idea.
Well, I'm super excited to see what comes next. And I just want to highlight like what a badass opportunity that was that you got to be a part of and what that says about you and your skills and the level at which you're playing. So incredible. I wanted to ask, in the last, in your career, I guess we should kind of wrap this up, but before we do, like in your career, when you think back, what's a really proud moment? Like maybe not the proudest, you can tell me the proudest, or a really proud moment that you have with rugby up into today's date.
Yeah, I mean, the past few months have been really pretty great. And like I said, I was working through a lot, like emotionally and physically, coming out of injury and then not being able to do anything with it. So kind of coming back and having such a successful summer season and then being able to play in PR7s, they're pretty much they're at the top of like proud rugby moments. I would have to put Club Sevens Nationals kind of at the top. My dad was there. He surprised me and came and saw, and he's like, my parents are like my biggest cheerleaders. And so to be able to like prove to them that all of the support that they've put into me and as well as my team, like it's a whole team effort, and they're proud supporters of the team and me, and to kind of like put everything together as a team and just like feel like I personally did my best and I took the resources that were given to me and was able to do something positive and productive with them. It felt pretty good.
And the fact that, I mean, your parents traveled abroad, I mean, they live abroad, right? So they traveled to be there for you. Yeah.
Yes, complete surprise. He walked in Saturday morning. I was lacing up my boots for the first game and I looked up in the players area and my dad was walking across the field. He lives in Abu Dhabi. And so
Amazing.
I had no idea he was coming. Nobody knew. So obvious waterworks immediately.
Yeah. Amazing.
Pretty special.
Oh, well, I am, like I said, really excited to see like what comes next for you. I hope you'll keep me in the loop. I'm so appreciative of you spending some time with me. Before I let you go, what are words of wisdom that you would give a player in building their confidence, in particular, working their way into a starting position on their team or at a tryout or a camp? What words of advice would you give them?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you have to back yourself. But I think that confidence comes from playing rugby. Like we can train and work out and get stronger and bigger and faster all we want. But at the end of the day, like if we want to be rugby players, we got to play rugby. And I think that, play more rugby, play different types of rugby, play sevens, play 15s, play touch. I am a forward and I love running into things. And when somebody told me I should play touch, I laughed. And it's been incredible. I love it now. But I just think, play more rugby and talk to more rugby people and do more rugby things and back yourself.
I love that. Jade, you're incredible. I am going to wrap up this Rugby Hang by hang around because I want to chat with you more. And again, thank you so, so much.
Thank you.